pretend Christians, all these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. You come here to a man. Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the words? No! Jesus would dine with immigrants. Do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens.
Hey, you can't. Don't be
You are a fake Christian. Why are you not standing with your Somali and Latino communities? Why do I not see you out at Whipple every day protesting this attack on humanity? Where are you? You're sinners. You're pretending to be Christians, but we know you live an easy life.
But you know, the Bible clearly says thou shalt not steal. But these are the people that he's harassing these people for thieves, murderers, rapists, pedophiles, drug and human traffickers, and of course, scammers. You're in a church defending those type of people. Okay.
Don't you? A very easy life while people are starving. Shame. Out now. Out now. Living real comfortable while the people starve. Living real comfortable while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're all living real comfortable, aren't you?
What concentration camps?
Do something. Stand with the Somalis. Stand with the Latinos.
No.
Quit ignoring this injustice.
No.
He wears a suit and tie and he hangs out with Kristi Noem. How is that a Christian? You're supposed to accept all immigrants, are you not? Why are you not going down to Whipple and joining us in protest against this inhumanity? You claim to be a Christian, act like one.
Yesterday, I went into a church with Nakima Armstrong and I protested these white supremacists. A pastor of the church is a fucking ICE leader in this city.
I swear to God, white people calling other people white supremacists. Meanwhile, he's out here harassing them because, you know how it is with white saviors. White saviors, I'm going to tell, if I have any white listeners, I'll tell you right now, us as black people do not respect people like him. We don't respect white people that run around being white saviors. You want to know why? Because they think that we're too stupid to do anything for ourselves. And even though in some cases it may seem like that, it's not your plight. Let our black intelligentsia handle that. And here's the thing though, when it comes to white saviors, they handpick who they want as black intelligentsia. You know, this Lakima chick, these Black Lives Matter, these professional protesters, white people like him love to get up under black people like that because they're do-nothings. They're just agitators. And more than likely, he's probably getting a check, just like the BLM, Black Lesbian Mansioners. We have no respect for these people.
How can you be a...
And they're usually the most racist people. They're the most racist white people you'll ever run across.
fucking pastor and be a fucking ICE agent? Fuck them. They want to come after me? Fuck them. How can they live so comfortably while the fucking people from Somalia that are in this country legally, that have fucking citizenship, can't even go to their mosque and pray? How do they deserve any fucking different? Fuck those fucking Nazis. Come and get me, Pam Bondi, you fucking traitorous bitch. All power to the people.
Nigga, did you know that I can see you? We got one!
Rolex, jump in the trunk, city, no stop. Gun on my lap, silence bunny pop. Jump in the trunk, city, no stop. Gun on my lap, silence bunny pop. Black tint windows, can't see point side. Ops on the corner, but it never when it's light. Diamonds on my neck, but the pants full of paint. Eric Rick a flip, just so ice on the chain. Ice on my neck, chick of the chick. Flicks on the sack, can't never rest. Ice on my neck.
That was supposed to be my original intro, but it was too big. But let me show y'all this. I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about. We talk about how white saviors are extremely racist. Let me show y'all. I'll show you right now.
See, again, y'all are throwing race into all of this. Nobody's throwing race into it.
You profile people for how they look. You profile people for how they look and how they speak.
Without your mask on and without your shitty little Timu getup, your ass would be stopped by ICE and you fucking know it. You guys tried to detain your own person. Yeah, that's probably because you have the reading level of a fucking 8th grader, my dude. Come on.
You see that? Scott said he had an 8th grade IQ. His reading level is that of an 8th grader, a black man. In the opening part, of course, the white woman called him a race traitor because he wants to protect America from foreign invaders through immigration reform.
Fucking go anywhere. This idiot isn't gonna learn.
Listen, working for the fucking government? Like, you think that this is gonna save you from everything that's going on in this world?
Whether you work for the government.
Hey, do you know that you have to work
You see the look of exasperation on his face? Look at the look of exasperation.
going on in this world?
Whether you work for the government.
Watch this. Because he know that, in all honesty, if he could take this gear off, or better yet, because really they tell these ICE agents not to get involved, have very minimal contact with these people. But believe you me, if he could get involved, oh, he would cuss this white chick out. He would cuss all them out.
You know that you have to work for ICE? Man who is out there racially profiling other people. That's fucking sick. In fucking Germany that I gotta carry my fucking passport with me? Are you guys gonna make me wear a fucking star like my ancestors?
Oh my God, how
I'm fucking
brainwashed.
Jewish and Latin
You're Jewish, so you should know better.
American, and I have to deal with this shit. My
Jewish
ancestors
and
were
Latin
fucking
American.
murdered by Nazis, and now you guys are back doing it all over again.
Oh
Fuck
my
you.
God.
Fuck you. You know, I hope you
That's
burn
okay,
down.
G, come
You're a Nazi! You're a Nazi!
Read a fucking
You're fucking
book.
Gestapo!
Oh boy, he's done with this. Let's go. Let's go. Get the fuck out in front of the car.
I said,
Move.
founded laws on immigration. Like, it's simple. Like, that's it. Like, we can't argue that.
History of immigration.
We do.
Both, but again, I don't think you know all of the history of the immigration.
Because they're
Like
and what's
what?
happened.
It's not about the history, it's about the laws. It's not about the history, it's about the laws. We are here to enforce.
When you go and detain people, show us everyone the judicial warrant, and then we'll be like, okay,
Yeah.
show us
We don't
an
have to
official,
show you.
legit judicial warrant, and then go ahead.
Absolutely go in if
But
you have
don't
the
fucking
judicial.
take people out of their houses for no fucking reason and fucking beat them up.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Face mask on, that's why.
But you said something about a warrant, right?
Like, do you even know what an ICE warrant entails? A judicial warrant is when you have to kick in a door. Not an ICE warrant. It's two different things. So let's get into these people who got arrested. Let's hear from Christy Nome. Oh, hold on, sorry.
Attacking our law enforcement. If you remember, because of the protesters and the violent criminals that were attacking our law enforcement, if you remember in that operation, what happened was our officers were out trying to get a car stuck out of the snow when they were surrounded and assaulted and blocked in by protesters that were inciting.
The officer was following his training.
He
I'm
did follow his
wondering,
training
does
because of an
firing 2
individual
shots
that was
point blank into a driver's window. Is that
Who hit him with the car? Yeah.
self-defense?
This is an experienced officer who followed his training, and we will continue to let the investigation unfold into the individual and continue to follow the procedures and policies that happen in these use of force cases. But let's remember the events that surrounded what happened yesterday on that tragic situation was that these individuals had followed our officers all day, had harassed them, had blocked them in. They were impeding our law enforcement operations, which is against the law. And when they demanded and commanded her to get out of her vehicle several times, she did not. So we'll continue to allow this process to unfold and recognize that these law enforcement.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. She was speaking about that stupid Renee Good chick. But moving right along there. Excuse me. A prominent, so-called prominent civil rights attorney who clearly doesn't know the law, and at least 2 other people involved in an anti-immigration enforcement protest that disrupted a service at a Minnesota church have been arrested. Trump administration officials said Thursday, even as a judge rebuffed related charges against Don Lemon, a so-called journalist. The developments unfolded as Vice President J.D. Vance arrived in the state. We're going to be covering that tonight. Speaking in Minneapolis, he urged state and local law enforcement to collaborate with federal officials and said protesters must stop getting in their way. And I agree, because the best way to avoid getting shot by a federal agent is to mind your business. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced the arrest of Nakima Levy Armstrong in a post on X. On Sunday, protesters entered the city's church in St. Paul, where a local official with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement serves as a pastor. Bondi later posted on X that a second person had been arrested, followed by a third arrest announced by FBI Director Kash Patel. The Justice Department quickly opened a civil rights investigation after the group interrupted services by chanting "ICE out" and "Justice for Renee Good," referring to the 37-year-old idiot who was fatally shot by an ICE officer in Minneapolis earlier this month. I know I'm interjecting my own. Listen loud and clear. We do not tolerate attacks on places of worship, the Attorney General wrote on X. City's church belongs to the Southern Baptist Convention and lists one of its pastors as David Easterwood, who leads the local ICE field office. Many Baptist churches have pastors who also work other jobs. Of course, you know. But that idiot talking about you're stealing from the church. Jesus didn't wear a suit. If they wore suits back in that day, trust me, Jesus probably would have wore a suit occasionally. Instead, he wore robes like everybody else in that Middle East. Prominent leaders of the Southern Baptist Convention have come to the church's defense, arguing that compassion for migrant families affected by the crackdown cannot justify violating a sacred space during worship. Attorneys representing the church hailed the arrest. The U.S. Department of Justice acted decisively by arresting those who coordinated and carried out the terrible crime, said Doug Wardlow, director of litigation for True North Legal, which calls itself a public interest civil rights firm, in a statement. Levy Armstrong, an attorney and prominent local activist, had called for the pastor affiliated with ICE to resign, saying his dual role poses a fundamental moral conflict. No, it doesn't. How? Is he supposed to protect criminals? Show me in the Bible where it says protect criminals. You cannot lead a congregation while directing an agency whose actions have cost lives and inflicted fear in our communities, she said Tuesday. When officials protect armed agents, repeatedly refuse meaningful investigation into killings like Renee Goods, well, first and foremost, that investigation is over the heads of Minneapolis state officials. That's a FBI, Department of Justice. That's a federal case because it involved a federal officer. Nobody's going to go before your sham, corrupt state government talking about some lead this investigation. You can get out of here. And signal they may pursue peaceful protests and journalists. That is not justice, it is intimidation. Really? So following around ICE agents, getting in their way, trying to run them over with cars, throwing snowballs at them, yelling, screaming, blowing whistles, that's not intimidation? J.D. Vance arrived amid tense interactions between federal immigration law enforcement authorities and residents. State and local elected officials have opposed the crackdown that has become a major focus of Department of Homeland Security sweeps. His visit comes less than a month after Renee Good was killed. He has called Good's death a tragedy of her own making. Yeah, because if she was at home being the mother that everybody keeps trying to say that she is, none of this would have happened. But she was listening to her psychotic lesbian partner. Speaking in Toledo, Ohio, before his Minnesota visit, Vance warned the church protesters, those people are going to be sent to prison so long as we have the power to do so. We're going to do everything we can to enforce the law. Later in Minneapolis, he urged state and city law enforcement to help the federal immigration officers. We're doing everything that we can to lower the temperature, Vance said, adding that he wants state and local officials to meet us halfway. Right, instead of fanning the flames. A longtime activist in the Twin Cities metropolitan area, Levy Armstrong has helped lead local protests after the high-profile police-involved killings of Black Americans, including George Floyd, Philando Castile, and Jamar Clark. She is a former president of the NAACP's Minneapolis branch. Yeah, because, you know, BLM pays a lot more. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem posted a photo on X of Levy Armstrong with her arms behind her back next to a person wearing a badge. Noem says she faces a charge under a statute that bars threatening or intimidating someone exercising a right. Patel posted on X that Chantal Louisiana, Chantal Louisa Allen, the second person Bondi said was arrested, is charged under the Freedom of Access to Clinical Interests Act, which prohibits physically obstructing or using the threat of force to intimidate or interfere with a person seeking reproductive health services or seeking to participate in the service at a house of worship. Patel said William Kelly has also been arrested. It's unclear which attorneys would represent Allen and Kelly, because I guess they expect the other chick to represent herself. St. Paul Public Schools, where Allen is a member of the Board of Education, is aware of her arrest but will not comment on pending legal matters, according to district spokesperson Erica Wacker. I guarantee you they won't fire that chick. Allen and Levy Armstrong are part of a community of Black Minnesota activists who have protested the deaths of African Americans at the hands of police. Kelly defended the protest during a news conference Tuesday, criticizing the church for its association with a pastor who works for ICE. You know, again, you're supposed to be a lawyer, but you're too stupid to know that what you did was illegal. In court Thursday, federal magistrate Judge Doug Micko granted the women bond and restricted them from traveling outside Minnesota or from going near the church. The government said it would appeal. Right, because you shouldn't give them bond, especially Kelly. Kelly is proved to be an unstable psychopath. And these other two, these Black chicks, have proven to be agitators, violent agitators. Levy Armstrong's attorney said he offered for her to turn herself in peacefully, but the Trump administration insisted on arresting her. Right, because no, we coming to get you. I mean, finally took Bondi to get up off her ass and do her damn job. But as I said, they arrest the capos, not the dons. They wanted the spectacle, Levy Armstrong's husband, Marquise Armstrong, said, recalling around 50 agents came to detain his wife. Yeah, your wife is a violent protester, bro. The Justice Department's swift investigation into the church protests stands in contrast to his decision not to open a civil rights investigation into the killing of Good because it was a clean shoot. The guy had internal bleeding. He didn't do that to himself. You can clearly tell from his cell phone camera footage. You hear her hit him with the car. So what is there to it? What do you want them to do? They cleared him. Had she been at home minding her own damn business, none of this would have happened. So it's whatever. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said last week there was no basis for a civil rights investigation into her death. Exactly. Administration officials have said the officer acted in self-defense and that the driver of the Honda was engaging in an act of domestic terrorism when she pulled toward him. But the decision not to have the Department's Civil Rights Division investigate marked a sharp departure from past administrations, which have moved quickly to probe shootings of civilians by law enforcement officials. Well, Jesus Christ, we pretty much have body cam footage. This is the beauty of living in an Orwellian society. Everybody films everything. So what more do you need to see that's going to make you think that her hitting him with her car was legitimate? There's nothing that says that. You'll never find it. The Justice Department has separately opened an investigation into whether Minnesota officials impeded or obstructed federal immigration enforcement through their public statements. Prosecutors this week sent subpoenas to the offices of Governor Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, St. Paul Mayor Coley, and officials in Ramsey and Hennepin counties, according to a person familiar with the matter. Now, a magistrate judge rejected federal prosecutors' bid to charge journalist Don Lemon related to the church protest, a person familiar with the matter said Thursday. The person spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to publicly discuss the ongoing investigation. Lemon was among those who entered the church. Lemon said he is not affiliated with the protest organizers and was there chronicling as a journalist. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people involved, including the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization, Lemon said in the video posted on social media. That's it. That's called journalism. It wasn't immediately clear what the Justice Department would do after the judge's decision. Authorities could return to a magistrate judge to again seek a criminal complaint or an indictment against Lemon before a grand jury. CNN, which fired Lemon in 2023, first reported the ruling. I'm going to tell you right now, because they have these three in custody, they're going to grab those two black chicks' phones and they're going to go through their phones. They're going to go through their messages and everything. They're probably even going to go through their banking apps because they want to know who's paying them. They probably already know, but they need confirmation, especially that Kelly dude who who is highly unstable, because that's not the first time that he's on video harassing people out in the street, talking crazy. So something's wrong with these folks, but it's okay. It took forever. At least now their day is coming.
This is your one and only warning. Continue to feed our lives.
I found this funny. You'll see why.
Nobody wants you here. Go. Cowards. Go. Leave. Don't ever come back.
Boy.
We are community members and you guys are paid agitators. You guys are coming here and destroying our community. I can't even get fucking tacos right now because of you.
He called them paid agitators, and then of course followed up with something extremely racist and stereotypical, saying that he can't even get tacos because of them, and he's Hispanic. Like, you mean to tell me all the Taco Bells in Minneapolis shut down? You know, if you can't get a taco in Minneapolis, then that just goes to show how corrupt the government in Minneapolis is, because they gave business licenses to illegals. And you're okay with that?
I can't even get tacos, and it's bigger than that. That just goes to show how serious this shit is. I'm not even eating. I'm not going to the gym right now. I'm here. I'm here for my fucking community. I'm here every fucking day. And you will see me every fucking day.
That guy right there, good Lord. Woo. See, we don't have this in Atlanta. People don't do this in Atlanta. A lot of black folks down here, they mind their own damn business. I mean, you get goofy white people like him. Goofy white Hispanics like him that come out here and do this type of stuff. These soy boys. Patriots, or people who respect the country, they're too busy working to be out here at 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 10 o'clock in the morning. They got jobs. They got families. They got rent and bills to pay. This guy and this guy and this guy, no, these are jobless. They probably pay agitators, but in essence, they're jobless fucks, because you can't list paid agitator on the tax return, which means you're probably a tax dodger too. But you're concerned about, illegals. Probably, and you know what it is? Criminals support criminals. Flat out.
Also, now you know how to properly ask for help to get into a place, huh? But when you go to the traffic stop, you don't let them in. Yeah, you fucking dumbass.
But if he ran up on you and started beating your ass, you'd be crying all over the place. You'd be crying. Look at this dude. Look at it. That just show you how poor these people are. Really, bro? You just out here in a damn hoodie. These people, they got these bubble coats on and everything, but he out here in a damn hoodie. Man, if you don't go and get you a damn job somewhere, but you die of pneumonia. I wouldn't eat a street taco to save my life. No telling what's in it. Yeah, majority women and boy boys.
You don't want to here. Go home. Go home. Don't you got families? Don't you got families?
Don't you have a family?
Don't you have a family?
Don't you have a family? Don't you have a job? You have nothing else better to do? You literally have nothing else better to do.
What are you gonna do?
Look at these jobless, psychotic people. Psychotic liberal. Nothing else better to do with their time but harass federal agents. And I'll say it again, they need to start breaking out the nightstick. The tear gas and the pepper balls they're just minor irritants. You need to start breaking out the stick and start breaking elbows and knees. You need to start swelling them up. You need to start inflicting some serious pain on these people to make them understand, get out of our way.
Go ahead, take another photo. Go ahead.
And he's so stupid. Yes. The ICE agents are taking photos of you because the technology, where is he? The technology that the US government has can identify your face simply by your eyes. You have Fortune 500 recruiters that have technology. If they have the technology to be able to identify people in masks who just show their eyes, where do you think they got the technology from? Who do you think else has that type of technology? So yeah, they take a picture of you. And if you pop up and do something stupid and think that you got away, they'll do you just like they did these three morons. They'll just show up at your door and you'll have that surprised look on your face. So let's get into JD Vance's visit to Minnesota.
Good afternoon, everybody. How we doing? Good. So I want to thank the law enforcement officers behind me for being here. I'll answer a few questions, but I want to say just a few things at the outset, just about what I've learned today and what I'm trying to do here. You know, first of all, I want to give a shout out to the Annunciation school shooting families, because, you know, the last time I was in Minneapolis, it was, of course, to meet with some of those families. I understand that a couple of the students have made near miraculous recoveries, and just that was a very special moment for me to be invited into that community at a time of grief. And I hope that all of them know that though I didn't get to see them this particular time, I've been thinking about them and their families quite a bit. Now, to talk about what I am here to do, which is federal law enforcement to enforce our immigration laws, I want to say just a few things. First of all, I wanted to meet with business leaders, with ICE officers, with local law enforcement to try to understand a little bit better what's going on so that we can tone down the temperature a little bit, reduce the chaos, but still allow us as a federal government to enforce the American people's immigration laws. That is the purpose of my visit. Now, this is, you know, step one or step two of that process. There's going to be a lot of work that follows through from here. I'm happy to talk about that, but I think I learned a few things that were very important. So number one of the things I learned is that the guys behind me are doing an incredible job. And frankly, a lot of the media is lying about the job that they do every single day. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't occasionally stories out there, there aren't occasionally videos out there that suggest that these guys, or at least some of the people who work for them, are not doing everything right. But very often, if you look at the context of what's going on, you understand that these people are under an incredible amount of duress, an incredible amount of chaos. And because of a few very far left agitators, a lot of these guys are unable to do their jobs without being harassed, without being doxxed, and sometimes without being assaulted. That's totally unacceptable. And that's one of the things that I want to send a message to is, yes, come out and protest me, protest our immigration policy, but do it peacefully. If you assault a law enforcement officer, the Trump administration and the Department of Justice is going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. And I wanted to show some support for these guys who, frankly, are operating in a very, very tough environment. I heard a lot of stories today about that I think drives home just how chaotic the environment on the ground here has already gotten. For example, did you know that within the last, I think, week or so, maybe even more recently than that, you had a couple of ICE officers who were off duty, who had been doxxed online, who were sitting and having a meal at a restaurant in Minneapolis when a bunch of agitators showed up, locked the door, made them feel like they were in danger for their lives. And then, of course, it was federal law enforcement officers who had to come up, lower the temperature on the situation, and actually get those two off-duty officers to a point of safety. Now, imagine, if you would, your life and your perspective on law enforcement if you can't even go to a restaurant without some agitators locking the door and making you feel like your life is in danger. That is the environment that has been created, I think, by a lot of very, frankly, far left people, but also by some of the state and local law enforcement officials who could do a much better job in cooperating and working. And by the way,
let's just be honest. They're trying to create another Renee Good situation, because do understand, if you call yourself trying to kidnap a law enforcement, a federal agent, if they would have opened fire, if they just would have shot one of those people, because they were well within their rights, and I'm pretty sure they were carrying. But they're trained to, unless they touch you, don't draw down. But that tactic needs to change. These guys need to walk around with their duty belts. They need to walk around with their duty belts, fully loaded duty belts. Because it's just a matter of time before some local moron pulls the trigger on another ICE agent. And then you've got a tragedy.
I'm not talking about the cops who these guys told me on the ground. The cops are very sympathetic to what they're dealing with. I'm talking about the state and local elected law enforcement officials who could do a lot better job in making their lives a little bit easier. And in the process, they would make the lives of all Minneapolis residents easier. And that's what we want. We want to be able to enforce the immigration laws on the one hand, while on the other hand, we want to make sure that people in Minneapolis are able to go about their day. And I want to say just one last point on this. So I heard from a business leader today who told me a very tough story. And I think so much of what's gone wrong in Minneapolis is people not trying to understand the perspective of somebody else. Try to understand what somebody else is experiencing, whether they're a law enforcement officer or anybody in the community here in Minneapolis. So they told me a story about this manufacturing facility where an illegal immigrant was being arrested. And as these employees are going into the manufacturing facility, all of a sudden, an illegal immigrant shows up. They don't know it's an illegal immigrant. And then a bunch of ICE officers descend. Now, these people just want to go to work. They want to go to work safely. And now all of a sudden, there's a major law enforcement operation happening right outside their place of business. Now, from one perspective, I certainly understand why a business leader or why an employee would say, whoa, what's going on? It's a little scary, no matter your position in life, if a bunch of cop cars show up and they're arresting somebody. Now, the additional context is that we know that people online have been encouraging illegal immigrants that one way they can evade arrest is by showing up at a legitimate place of business, making it impossible for these guys to actually enforce our immigration laws. So while I can understand the perspective of somebody who doesn't want to see an arrest happen at their place of work, I can also understand the perspective of our immigration enforcement officers who have to do their job and can't allow a heckler's veto over our immigration enforcement. And so much of what's gone wrong is the failure to do that. And here's the point. We can do a good job of enforcing our immigration laws without the chaos, but it actually requires the cooperation of state and local officials. If you look at blue cities and blue states, red cities and red states, you go to Austin, Texas, or Memphis, Tennessee, you go to the state of Texas, obviously a very red state, or the state of Tennessee, a very red state, but you've got blue cities within those states, you do not have this level of chaos. The reason why things have gotten so out of hand is because of failure of cooperation between the state and local authorities and what these guys are trying to do. We have a ton of resources, a ton of ICE agents in this city right now that I would rather us not have. I'd love to send those guys home. They're not even doing targeted immigration enforcement. They are trying to protect ICE officers who are doing immigration enforcement, because when a crowd surrounds them and these guys call 911, the local officials, the local cops have been told to stand down. So we have people here who aren't even doing immigration enforcement, they're doing force protection. So that if a rioter tries to ruin the life or assault an ICE officer, they're actually protected. Now, why doesn't it make more sense for the local cops to get involved in that situation? Why not just have the mayor or the local officials tell the police officers, you know what, if an ICE officer is being assaulted by a far left agitator, you are invited, you should actually help them. That's what would work out in any normal situation, and that's what happens in nearly every jurisdiction, red or blue, in the United States of America. The reason it hasn't happened here is because the local authorities have been told, stand down, do not help ICE, promote the violence, promote the agitation, but don't do anything to lower the temperature and lower the chaos.
And you know why it really is the underlying faction is that, as you know, Walls, Omar, Frey, yes, Frey, even he's wrapped up in it, the state attorney general and political leaders in Minnesota are all taking kickbacks. They're all in on the scam. They were all in on all the frauds, the Medicaid, Medicare, the child care, the ride share services. You understand? Whatever involved federal money, they were all in on it. They were all taking kickbacks. Frey, the mayor, him and his wife are involved in some Somalian scams. His wife is running some type of organization that's getting kickbacks from the Somalians. That's why he's going so hard. He's the newly appointed mayor, but he's going so hard because him and his wife are caught up in it. So they're trying to, and it's what it is. It's a delay tactic. They're trying to get everybody's mind off of the fraud that they're involved in by making this about ICE and Renee Good's stupid self, trying to force more incidents in order to say, see, ICE is bad, ICE is bad. But no, dude, your arrests are coming. I am so glad that Bondi finally got off her tail and started arresting people. Keep it going. You're right now, you're 3-0. You 3-0. Keep it going. Keep it going.
That's a problem. Here's another example of how the lack of cooperation between state and local officials makes it harder for us to do our job and turns up the temperature. Let's say, for example, we have a criminal migrant who is a sex offender. And let's say that we've got to go and arrest that person who, Democrat or Republican, wants a sex offender living in their community. I would hope that most people don't. But because they're an illegal alien, we don't know their last address. We may have known their address 3 years ago, but we don't know their address now. What we'd like to do is talk to local officials and say, you know what? According to the Medicaid rolls, where was the last address this person was domiciled? Or according to a SNAP application, a food stamps application, maybe that could give us insight to where this person is today. Or maybe they had some local court trouble. We could go to the local courthouse or even the local jail and try to find where this criminal sex offender is today. The local...
because do understand, these people aren't working, at the Taco Bell, because apparently Taco Bell is closed. I'm being funny. But they're not working at a local restaurant or anything. They're criminals. They're living off of our tax dollars, our federal tax dollars, approved by Tim Walz. So they know who these people are. They know where they're at. But that eats into their pockets. Every person that ICE takes off the streets eats into their pockets.
Authorities have been told, do not cooperate. So these guys are trying to go out and enforce the law. They're trying to arrest sex offenders, but they're trying to do it in an environment where local officials have been told, do not help them, do not provide intelligence about where these sex offenders might be. This is disgraceful. And there are a lot of things that all of us could do better to lower the temperature, but the number one thing that I learned today is that the best way to facilitate reasonable enforcement of the law, but also to lower the chaos in Minneapolis, would be for state and local officials to cooperate. Now, I will say, on one final positive note, I actually think that there's some hope, some reason to think that there's going to be better cooperation in the weeks and months to come. I think that because I've talked to some of the local officials here, I think there are reasons to believe that these people are going to step up and actually ask the cops to protect our ICE officers when they're being assaulted, who are going to ask the local courts to cooperate with getting criminal sex offenders out of our community. That's a good thing. That's the good news. And that's something I'm going to work on when I get back to Washington. But please, if you're a local official, if you're the mayor of this town, if you have any influence over those people, just tell them to cooperate. Because we could have immigration enforcement operate as smoothly and without the chaos that we see in Austin, Texas, or Memphis, Tennessee, or even rural parts of the state of Minnesota. All we need is a little cooperation. I guarantee.
No. What you need to do is arrest the people that are paying them. You've killed the NGO money. As the federal government, when y'all eliminated DOGE, you killed the NGO money. That's what was funding Black Lives Matter. NGO money. Now that you've done that, find out who's writing the checks. You just arrested 3 people who committed a terrorist act on a church. I don't know how many of these protesters you've arrested who have been bailed out by somebody behind the scenes. You mean to tell me y'all don't know who's writing these people these checks in 2025, 2026? Go arrest the people that are writing these people these checks, because I'm telling you right now, nobody's going to be out there in the cold risking going to prison and agitating federal agents unless they're getting paid to do it. Nobody's doing that for free unless they are a complete and total whack job.
We're going to do the best to be professional, to respect people's rights, to not do anything that we don't have to do in order to enforce immigration laws, but it would make our lives a lot easier, it would make our officers a lot safer, and it would make Minneapolis much less chaotic if we had a little bit of cooperation from the state and local officials. With that, I'll shut up and take some questions. Thank you, guys.
My first defense, a local school district here is alleging ICE agents detaining a 5-year-old after preschool on Tuesday. We've also seen multiple American citizens detained by ICE, harassed by ICE in the last 6 weeks. Are you proud of how your administration is conducting this immigration crackdown here in Minnesota?
Well, I'm proud of the fact that we're standing behind law enforcement, and I'm proud of the fact that we're enforcing the country's.
Hold on. That 5-year-old that they're talking about, some little 5-year-old Hispanic kid, the story behind that, the truth behind that is that ICE was trying to pick up the father. The father abandoned the kid in the car and ran in the house like the coward that he is. He abandoned his 5-year-old son to run into the house to get away from ICE. Father of the year. So the ICE agents were comforting the kid and was like, dude, you left your son, just come outside. Because apparently there were people in the house that were familiar with the boy that, you know, once ICE verified that, yes, you know, everything is good, they would have left the son, the boy, with whoever else was in the house. But that's not what happened, though. The only thing that the story is the surface dirt stuff. Oh, ICE had a 5-year-old. They detained the 5-year-old. What was they supposed to do? Let him run out in the street? Leave him in a car unattended? A running car unattended?
Laws. But you know, you asked a question about this 5-year-old kid. I actually saw this terrible story while I was coming to Minneapolis. We just left Toledo, Ohio this morning for an economic messaging event. And I see this story, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, a 5-year-old little boy. And I think to myself, oh my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Well, I do a little bit more follow-up research. And what I find is that the 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien. And then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? Are they not supposed to arrest an illegal alien in the United States of America? If the argument is that you can't arrest people who have violated our laws because they have children, then every single parent is going to be completely given immunity from ever being the subject of law enforcement. That doesn't make any sense. No one thinks that makes any sense. Now, you know, there are so many of these cases like that where if you just understand the context, there have been a number of situations that I've looked into personally where I say, wait a second, we don't want ICE arresting American citizens. They're supposed to be enforcing the immigration laws against illegal aliens. So then I look into it and I find out that the American citizen who was arrested took a swing at an ICE officer. You can't have that happen. And of course they have to defend themselves. And of course they have the right to detain somebody who assaults a law enforcement officer. Now, this is my point. Do we want these things to happen? Do we want these arrests to be so chaotic? No, we don't. These guys want it least of all, but if we had a little cooperation from local and from local and state officials, I think the chaos would go way down in this community.
President!
Go ahead.
After the Renee Good shooting, sir, the administration seemed to say...
Yeah, well, you can go next.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I'll put it to you like this. I'm just going to let him talk because clearly the man is informed. Ladies and gentlemen, this will be your next president for 2 terms. You might as well get used to it.
That's fine. I'll take both.
After the Renee Good shooting, sir, the administration seems to... After the Renee Good shooting, the administration seemed to suggest that ICE officers enjoyed near complete immunity. But today you told the Washington Examiner that when appropriate, the administration might take disciplinary actions against ICE agents. So is that a change of opinion? And if so, why the change in tone?
No, I didn't say, and I don't think any other official within the Trump administration said that officers who engaged in wrongdoing would enjoy immunity. That's absurd. What I did say is that when federal law enforcement officers violate the law, that is typically something that federal officials would look into. We don't want these guys to have kangaroo courts. We want them to actually have real due process, real investigation, because again, sometimes they're accused of wrongdoing, and it turns out when you learn the context, they didn't actually do anything wrong. But of course, we're going to investigate these things. Of course, we're investigating the Renee Good shooting, but we're investigating them in a way that respects people's rights and then ensures that if somebody did something wrong, yes, they're going to face disciplinary action, but we're not going to judge them in the court of public opinion. I've spoken at length on this particular case. I think that Renee Good's death is a tragedy. I also think that she rammed an ICE officer with her car. So the tragedy here is multi-layered. The tragedy is there was a misunderstanding. The tragedy is that Renee Good lost her life. The tragedy is that you have ICE officers who are going into communities where they're worried that if they call 911, no one's going to come to help them. That is what produces this terrible situation, and it's something state and local officials here in Minnesota could solve.
Well, truth is, as you say, but them Dems is about to fight hard for that position. Well, who do they have? Who they going to throw up there to get, destroyed by JD Vance? If not Mark Rubio, but JD Vance. Who are they going to throw up there to debate JD Vance? You have nothing on him. You can't call him a racist because his wife is Indian, and they got two kids, 2 girls. All right. You can't call him a pedo. You can't say he's corrupt. You understand? You can't say he's a failed business leader. You can't say that he was a silver spoon baby or a trust fund baby because he grew up in Youngstown, Ohio with 2 drugged out parents. I mean, he was literally the worst case scenario of Malcolm in the Middle. You talk about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. They have nothing on him. So who are they going to put up there? Gavin Newsom? AOC? Bernie's old ass? Who do they have? Who's in the chamber? Jasmine Crockett? Jasmine Blackface Crockett? Who? They have nobody in the chamber. I'm not down talking you. I'm down talking them. They have nothing. And if Congress goes ahead and passes the law that redistricting based on race is illegal, which it is and should be, the Democrats are going to lose 20 seats. And they're going to be the majority minority party. It will be the Republican Party will dominate. But see, and all of this is it's the Democrats' fault. They're trying to fight against everything because Trump is destroying the Democratic Party by killing their money, and now he's going to start going after them and start pressing charges. With them doing this audit on all 50 states, you're going to see a lot of mayors and governors facing felony charges for theft, for fraud. Tim Walz, Minnesota is just the tip of the iceberg. From Maine to California, from Florida to Washington, state of Washington, they covering all 50 states. You better hope all your federal money is accounted for. They already got cases getting ready to file cases on Gavin Newsom, on his homeless scam, his welfare fraud scam. He stole the people's money. The Palisades, the people whose houses burned down, he stole their money. Federal government allotted money for them. The money just disappeared. Woo.
Yes, sir.
message
I really
towards
hope
your
with
life
the day.
department, especially regarding this cooperation and family values? It's a shame that kids have to get caught up in all this, and towards that, sir.
Well, it is a shame that kids have to get caught up in this. I am speaking at March for Life tomorrow. I'm pro-life, and I'm very excited to speak there. I want to talk about local law enforcement, but I am. As a child, I saw people in my family get arrested. It's terrible. It's heartbreaking. It's chaotic. It's traumatic for the kids. I can recognize that, and I can recognize that we got to support these kids. While on the other hand, saying that just because you're a parent doesn't mean that you get complete immunity from law enforcement. And I think we have to hold both of those thoughts in our head at the same time. We've got to be sympathetic to the kids who are caught up in some of these enforcement actions. We've also got to say we have to enforce the law without bias, with fairness, but we've got to enforce the law.
Mr. Vice President.
There was a class a few weeks ago, and their mayor said they haven't heard about what's happening in the city, and how the ICE can proactively work with local agencies.
You said there was an altercation in St. Cloud. Yeah.
The mayor said that ICE did not communicate with them if they were in the city during the operation, but police chiefs did not know about the operation at the time. Could you talk a little bit about proactive communication?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the takeaways. I've talked with these guys before we came on the stage, but during our roundtable and some of the other conversations we've had, communication, we absolutely want to ensure there's good communication between federal officials and state and local officials. And I'm sure that we can do better on that. We absolutely want to make sure that we are communicating, but that also requires a two-way street. And that's the point that I make about state and local officials. These guys will absolutely communicate with state and local officials. They'll tell people if they have to do an enforcement operation in a particular municipality. But part of that is they also want to ensure that if they're communicating about their whereabouts, that's not being used as a weapon against them. Sometimes they tell people where they're going, and then they find out that their agents' faces are on on Reddit or on some social media thread saying, here's this guy, we know he's going to be at this place at this exact time. So that communication has got to be a two-way street. These guys are going to communicate with business leaders, with local officials, with state officials. But we also need the local officials and state officials to do a good job of protecting people when they're in their communities. We're not asking, by the way, we don't want any police officer in this community, in this state, to help us do immigration enforcement. We've got that. But if a protester shows up and that protester turns violent against our immigration officers, we really, really need the cooperation of our local partners. We haven't gotten it yet, but I think if we do, we really can lower the temperature. Yeah.
It's wild that you have anti-Americans working in the police department.
Yeah, so I saw that story, and the story is like so much that I read in the mainstream media. It's missing a whole lot of context, and when you appreciate the context, it makes sense. No one is saying, look, there are exceptions. For example, a crazy exception, if somebody is fired at from inside a house, they don't need a warrant to go inside that person's house. There are very narrow exceptions to the warrant requirement where law enforcement officers don't need a warrant if, for example, they're an imminent threat of their lives. But what we've said and what ICE has proposed, what the Department of Homeland Security really has proposed in the Department of Justice, is that we can get administrative warrants to enforce administrative immigration law. Now, it's possible, I guess, that the courts will say no. And of course, if the courts say no, we would follow that law. But nobody is talking about doing immigration enforcement without a warrant. We're talking about different types of warrants that exist in our system. Typically what happens, not always, but typically in the immigration system, those are handled by administrative law judges. So we're talking about getting warrants from those administrative law judges. And then, of course, with other cases, you get judges or you get warrants from a judge. That's very consistent with the practice of American law. I'm sure the courts will weigh in on that, but we're never going to enter somebody's house without some kind of a warrant, unless, of course, somebody's firing on an officer or they have to do something in order to protect themselves. Go ahead.
Do you believe that you can't forcibly enter with an administrative warrant, or would that be a violation?
Well, our understanding is that you can enforce the immigration laws of the country under an administrative order if you have an administrative warrant. That's what we think. That's our understanding of the law. That's our best faith attempt to understand the law. Again, this is something courts will weigh in on. I won't speak to that. But yes, most immigration law in our country is not done through the criminal system with the judge. It's done through the administrative law system. We're going to continue that practice just as they did in the Biden administration or any other administration.
Was there anything that you heard or saw today that would cause you to talk to the president to invoke the Insurrection Act? And then also, did you meet or talk to the ICE agent who was involved in the neighborhood incident?
I did not talk to him today. I talked to some of his colleagues. Your question on the Insurrection Act is interesting. I've tried to understand this as well as I possibly could. And my understanding is what the Insurrection Act, what invoking the Insurrection Act would allow the federal government to do is that it would allow the federal government to use the military for local law enforcement operations. Right now, we don't think that we need that. Now, the president could change his mind. Of course, things could get worse. But right now, we think that federal law enforcement officers can do the job of federal law enforcement. Now, what I do worry about, again, is if the chaos gets worse, if more and more ICE agents start getting assaulted, if other law enforcement officers start getting assaulted, that would be a real problem. But again, we have so much federal law enforcement resources here right now. We have so many people here that we do not want to have here. I do not want so many ICE officers in Minneapolis right now. I mean, good Lord, it's really, really freaking cold outside. But they're here not even to enforce immigration laws, but to protect the people from the rioters. That's an absurd state of affairs, and we wouldn't need it if we had a little bit more cooperation from the Minneapolis Police Department. Again, the Minneapolis Police Department, my understanding is that the actual beat cops on the ground, they would love to help out, but they're being told by somebody, I don't know if it's Mayor Frey, they're being told by somebody not to cooperate at all. What kind of a person tells their local police don't protect somebody if they're being assaulted by a rioter? It's crazy, and it's got to stop. Yes.
Earlier this week, local law enforcement accused federal agents of racial profiling. Why are there so many U.S. citizens being caught up in this operation?
Well, I think your question assumes something that's not necessarily in evidence, which is that when there are American citizens who have been caught up in some of these enforcement operations, very often it is people who have assaulted a law enforcement officer. They're not being arrested because they violated the immigration laws. They're being arrested because they punched a federal law enforcement officer. That is a totally reasonable thing. Now, to the accusation of racial profiling, look, it's something that we take very seriously. We will take accusations of racial profiling back to Washington. We'll certainly look into them as they come up. But this is not a group that's going around and looking for people who violated the law based on skin color. They're looking for people who violated the actual law, the law of our immigration system in this country. And so long as we had more cooperation, I think they could do these things in a much more targeted way. They would actually know where some of the bad guys are. I mean, again, you hear things that are hard to believe, but I've confirmed that they're true.
Yeah, you got some Somalian chick who pulling a Jussie Smollett saying that some ICE agents they beat her up and threw her in the van and called her all types of racial slurs and whatnot, and then let her go. But when they went to review the tapes, they're like, well, where are you? You're not on the tapes. You said, when did you say that you were arrested? Well, where are you? Here's the detention facility. Here's the van pulling up. We don't see you. We don't see you. Where are you? You said you were in leg irons? Where? Can you, is the leg irons in the room with us? You know what I'm saying? Oh my God.
Sex offenders who we're trying to get off the streets, who the local officials won't tell us their last known address. So then the local officials say, oh my God, these guys are doing widespread targeted enforcement operations, when in reality, we would love to just go to one house. The local officials won't tell us which one house to go to.
Mr. Vice President.
To that question, the local police chiefs have said their own off-duty officers, so police officers, are being targeted because they are a person of color and asked to show their papers. Is that a concern of the administration of the Department of Homeland Security? If local law enforcement says their own officers are being targeted, and they described it as, quote, civil rights violations in our streets.
So I saw one story about this and one local police officer who said this. And look, certainly is it a concern? Absolutely. The first thing we have to figure out is whether it happened or not. And then if it happened, whether there is a good explanation or a bad explanation, and of course, if somebody violated the law, if somebody racially profiled, if somebody violated the rights of one of our fellow citizens, that is something we will take very seriously. What I also would say is that many of the most viral stories of the past couple of weeks have turned out to be, at best, partially true. So we want to try people based on reality, based on the truth, based on context. We're not going to prejudge people just because of viral social media story that turned out to be half false.
Mr. Vice President, a quick question. About the roundtable you had in the Zoom that happened, did you invite anybody with an opposing point of view to get an idea of why people are upset here? It's just a quick follow-up. Have you reached out to Governor Walz at all in an attempt to turn down the tent?
So I haven't talked to Governor Walz on this particular trip. A number of members of our administration, I believe our chief of staff, spoke to the governor and has been in constant contact with his staff over the past week. We've been in my office in constant contact with people here on the ground in Minneapolis. There were certainly people at our roundtable with opposing views. And look, I don't even know, whether it's public, but yes, we met with people with opposing views here at the roundtable. I wanted to get a perspective from everybody, but also, of course, offer my opinion that with a little bit more cooperation, we can lower the chaos. We're going to keep on doing that. If Governor Walz wants to call me, we'll absolutely continue talking. I will say that my sense of this situation, having talked to these guys for a long time, is this is primarily a law enforcement issue. This is the attorney general. This is the local mayor. This is all of the organs of local and state law enforcement. That's who we focus on, but we've certainly been in communication with the governor and his office as well.
All the people involved in the fraud. And why would Tim Walz come and talk to you, talk to Tampon Timmy? You're under federal investigation, bro.
Vice President.
Yeah. Local law enforcement obviously hasn't been really helping out with the agents who've been assaulted repeatedly. What's the plan if nothing changes here locally and this operation has attracted thousands of agents? Are there any plans to go to any other cities from here?
Well, right now we're focused on Minneapolis because that's where we have the highest concentration of people who have violated our immigration laws. And that's also, frankly, where we see the most assault of our law enforcement officers. I mean, our plan is very simple. If you assault a federal law enforcement officer, we're going to do everything that we can to put you in prison. It's very simple. And most of these protesters, as much as I may disagree with their politics, most of them have been peaceful, but a lot of them have not been peaceful. And if you go and storm a church, if you go and insult a federal law enforcement officer, we're going to try very hard. We're going to use every resource of the federal government to put you in prison. Respect people's rights. Respect people's rights to worship. Respect people's rights to do their job without being assaulted. If you follow that basic principle, the Trump administration is going to do everything that we can to protect your rights. But if you go after somebody, if you assault somebody, if you make a 9-year-old girl cry because you walked into her church and harassed her, we're going to go after you with every single tool that we have.
Vice President.
Yeah. That's with NBC News, sir. Your administration has said repeatedly this is about safety, about making Americans feel safer. So what do you say to people in Minnesota who say it's the overwhelming presence of ICE officers and federal officers and their tactics that are making them feel less safe?
Well, one thing I would say is, first of all, we saw in 2025 the biggest one-year drop in murders in the history of the United States of America. Significant reductions in violent crime. The reason why we have less violent crime is really two reasons. Number one, because we're enforcing the immigration laws and getting very violent criminals out of our country. And number two, because we're enforcing our criminal laws and putting guys who assault and murder behind bars. This is part of a broad effort to make us safe. And the chaos that people are seeing, and I understand there is frustration of the chaos, I'd say that we're doing everything that we can to lower the temperature, and we would like federal and local, state and local officials to meet us halfway.
Perceiving it correctly. Are you saying that they're not seeing that it's the tactics or the presence of the officers that are...
Look, I'm sure that people are seeing a lot of things that would make any member of our national community feel very upset. But I also think that if you understand this in context, this is the inevitable consequence of a state and local government that have decided that they're not going to cooperate with immigration enforcement at all. In fact, they're going to aggressively not cooperate. So here's a basic illustration of this. If you are an ICE officer and you have to arrest a person who's committed assault and is also an illegal alien, but the state and local officials won't help you identify that person, many of the things that people in Minneapolis are seeing that give them pause, that frustrate them, that worry them, that make them feel like things are too chaotic, many of these things are coming from the fact that there's no cooperation with state and local law enforcement. And I guess what I would tell people, again, many of whom are justifiably concerned and worried about what they're seeing in their communities, is why are we not seeing it anywhere else? We're seeing this level of chaos only in Minneapolis. LA and Chicago, we had some problems there. Pretty much every jurisdiction where these guys are operating, you don't see the same level of chaos. You don't see the same level of violence. You don't see the problems that we're seeing in Minneapolis. Maybe the problem is unique to Minneapolis, and we believe that it is. And it's a lack of cooperation between state and local law enforcement and federal law enforcement. Sir.
CNN. ICE has been operating here for years with less pushback than we're seeing right now. And even the St. Paul police chief recently said, is there not a way to find common ground without scaring the hell out of people in the community? Those were his words. And I just wonder, with this Operation Metro Surge, is any part of it meant to send a form of political message to the leaders here in Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota? And I know you talked about you've been in touch with the governor's offices and the mayor's offices, but why have you not been able to speak to them directly? Have they not been willing to do so?
Well, look, I have spoken to some of the people in Minnesota directly. I spoke to some of them today. I've spoke to others in the past. And again, our staff has been in very direct contact with pretty much every official with any influence or any power in Minneapolis. But no, we're not trying to send a political message. We're trying to enforce the law. And unfortunately, what has happened is that as we've enforced the law, there's been this weird reaction, again, unique to this city. This is not a common thing across the United States of America. There's been a very unique, very Minneapolis-specific reaction to our enforcement of federal immigration laws. What I'm trying to do here today is understand why that is. What is it about Minneapolis that has become so chaotic? What are the specific types of cooperation that we need? Look, I don't need Tim Walz or Jacob Frey or anybody else to come out and say that they agree with J.D. Vance or Donald Trump on immigration. I just don't need that. What I do need them to do is empower their local officials to help our federal officials out in a way where this can be a little bit less chaotic and it can be a little bit more targeted. Like if we're trying to find a sex offender, tell us where the guy lives. Simple things like that, simple changes in how they're approaching immigration enforcement would make this work a lot better. It would make Minneapolis' streets a lot safer, and it would make this whole thing a lot less traumatic for this community. I'll take one more question.
Mr. Vice President.
Go ahead.
You said that it's time to turn down the temperature. Does that include changes to both ICE and CBP tactics that we've seen employed on the streets, including less than lethal tactics, pepper spray, pepper balls? Beyond that, what is the federal government's role in turning down the temperature? And the Minnesota Department of Corrections says that its own officers have been cooperating with ICE all along, handing over criminals once they serve their sentences to ICE officials. And you can see that there is some cooperation with the state.
Yeah, look, if I was going to list the 5 agencies locally and statewide that I'm most worried about, I wouldn't put the Department of Corrections on that list. I think that while there are certain things we'd like to see more from them, they've hardly been the worst offenders. You agree with that, guys? That's a fair assessment. But I think when you talked about tactics and you talked about the response to things, look, we don't want to employ tactics that we don't employ the kind of tactics that are only necessary when violence is committed against officers. That is these guys' directive, and that's what we're going to try to do. And again, the president said this a couple of days ago, whenever you have a law enforcement operation, even if 99.99% of the guys do everything perfectly, you're going to have people that make mistakes. That is the nature of law enforcement. What I do think that we can do is working with state and local officials, we can make the worst moments of chaos much less common. And all they've got to do is meet us halfway. These guys want to communicate with them. They want to talk to the local business leaders. Many of these guys, many of the people standing behind me are members of the Minneapolis community. Many of the officials that I met today who work in federal immigration enforcement, this is their home. They love this place. These are their neighbors. They want this to work a lot more smoothly. I think that we can get there. We just got to work at it a little bit, and we need some cooperation from state and local officials. Last thing that I'll say is I just hope they give it. This is a beautiful city. I've only been here a few times. I love it. Even in this weather, I love Minneapolis. We could do a lot better. We could do a lot more with more cooperation. The Trump administration, the directive that I got from the President of the United States is meet these guys halfway. work with them so that we can make these immigration enforcement operations successful without endangering our ICE officers, and so that we can turn down the chaos a little bit, at least. I think a lot, actually. But for us to do that, we need some help from the state and local officials. We will keep on working with them, and so long as they're willing to work with us, they will always find a partner in public safety and law enforcement in the Trump administration. Thank you all.
The 48th and 49th president. Oh, wait. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. So we have a nice calm flight. I think the trip was great. We had a lot of good response, even from the fake news. And I think Greenland's going very well. It's in negotiation. And I think what we did today was great. It was great. That's going to be a great board. That'll be a board, I think, like no other. Right? It's a board like no other. A lot of people joining. We just went out with the letters, and a lot of people are joining. Now we have a flight back, and we'll be landing in 4 hours and 45 minutes. And I'm going to be very late for dinner, but that'll be okay.
What are some of the elements of the Greenland concept that you can tell? There was
really a negotiation, but it's infinity. The time limit is infinity, meaning there is no time limit. It's forever. It's, you hear about 99 years, 50 years. It's forever. That was discussed. We can do anything we want. We can do military. We can do anything we want. And it's being negotiated, and let's see what happens. I think it'll be good.
Would the U.S. have
no price? There's no purchase price.
Would the U.S. have pockets of sovereignty over?
We have a lot of great things in the deal, and don't forget they're also good for Europe, because when we're good, they're good, and if we're not good, that's not very good for them, because we hold it all together. We're holding it all together.
Does that actually give you control of land in Greenland? Does it give U.S. control ownership of land?
Do whatever we want. We're all going to work together, and actually NATO is going to be involved with us. We're going to be doing it in conjunction, parts of it in conjunction with NATO, which is really the way it should be.
But to be clear, will the U.S.
won't have any expense, because we're not going to have expense. Other than building the Golden Dome, we're going to build the Golden Dome, and we'll have participation in that also. The cost of the Golden Dome, we'll have participation in that also, meaning with the expense of it. And it'll be like no other. I mean, our technology is incredible.
Is Denmark signed off on this, or are they on board with this concept? Is Denmark on board with this concept?
I think everyone likes it. I mean, I think. I'll let you know in about 2 weeks.
Have you spoken with Denmark about this plan?
Secretary General Mark is a great guy. He's a great guy, and he's spoken to everybody.
When you spoke with the NATO Secretary General, did you talk about U.S. military presence in Greenland?
We talked about everything, and you saw him yesterday. He was interviewed on Brett Baer, and he was very happy. He was very convinced this is a good deal for everybody.
On Ukraine, how did your conversation go with President Zelensky?
We had a conversation. I've had numerous conversations on Ukraine. It'd be nice to end that war. It costs us nothing. We make money. I don't want to make money, but we make money. Whereas Biden spent $350 billion stupidly and lost a lot of money. But it's not about the money. It's about 25 to 30,000 soldiers a month, mostly soldiers.
Are you ready to
a month of being killed.
Do you think that can you sign the security deal? Are you able to sign that?
Golf and Jared are right now on the way to Moscow. So we'll see how that works out. I had a good meeting, but I've had, numerous good meetings with President Zelensky, and it doesn't seem to happen. It's funny, I put out a 35-year war in a day, a 32-year war in 2 days, and other wars, the worst was like 4 days, and this one goes on and on forever, and actually they may have been more complex.
Do you think that trilateral that the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine are having in Abu Dhabi this weekend leads to a trilateral between you, Putin, and Zelensky?
Look, it's all good. Anytime we meet, it's good. If you don't meet, nothing's going to happen. I mean, for the first 3 years, nobody met. Under Biden, nobody met. And you know one thing, if you don't meet, nothing's going to happen. So we are meeting, and we'll see what happens. I hope we can save a lot of lives. That's all.
Mr. President, what kind of concessions does Vladimir Putin need to make at this point?
I mean, he'll make concessions. Everybody's making concessions to get it done. Europe is going to be a part of it. It's got to be a part of it. Look, it's more for Europe than for me. I mean, I'm doing this more for Europe than for me. I'm doing it to save lives, number one. I'm doing it secondarily for Europe. I'm not doing it so much for the it doesn't affect us very much. Other than the loss of lives, we're not affected by this. It's thousands of miles away. We're separated by an ocean. But I have an ability to get things done like this, and we'll see if I can get it done. I mean, it would never have gotten done. I thought Putin wanted the whole thing. Maybe he does, but he's not gonna be going there unless we don't make a deal. But we had a good meeting today with President Zelensky. I think a very good meeting.
What's the main holdup? What's the main holdup to getting a deal?
The main holdup is the same things that have been holding it up for the last year. Look, this is a war. This is Biden's war. This isn't my war. This is a war that should have never happened. But it's complex because you have beaches and bounds, you have streets, you have rivers, you have everything. Where does it end? So it's a little bit complicated. But I've had that in 5 of the other wars. There are beats and bounds. It's a location. It's boundaries. And I got them done fast in days, and this one is just going on. And what's happened here is there were times when Putin didn't want to make a deal, times when Zelensky didn't want to make a deal. And it was like opposite times. Now I think they both want to make a deal, but we'll find out.
Did something change that makes you think that Putin and Zelensky now are serious about it?
I'm not getting predictions. There are no changes. I think that President Putin would like to make a deal. I think that President Zelensky would like to make a deal.
What did Zelensky say today? I mean, he came all the way there to meet you. What did he say?
He said he'd like to make a deal. I mean, there's not much he can say.
Oh, so now Zelensky. All right, because I don't want to go completely into this. Your thoughts on the Corey Holcomb and Anton Daniels situation and beef? Hold on, Maji. Let me deal with this. The last time the last time Zelensky and Trump met was after Putin was in Alaska. Trump and Putin met in Alaska. They carved out a deal, a minerals deal, concerning Ukraine. Because do understand that this is what this is all about. It's all about resources. Ukraine has a mineral-rich soil. Russia wants those minerals. They wanted to cut a deal with Ukraine, 50-50 split, but Zelensky didn't want to do that because he's listening to the Biden administration. The Biden administration is giving him money and weapons to fight Russia, when in all honesty, they should have been making the deal. So instead, now you have Trump. Trump and Putin made a deal. Hey, look, we're going to split the resources of Ukraine up in 3 pieces. 33.3 for me, 33.3 for you, and 33.3 for Ukraine. The next day, the EU and Zelensky met at the White House. Y'all remember this? This is the very next day. All the EU leaders came to the White House. Even Zelensky was on the plane. They took them G9s or whatever. And they let him know, hey, look, dude, this is the deal. This is our split. This is Russia's split. This is your split. But understand that us nor Russia is going to waver on our 33.3%. So you have to make a deal with the UN. You know what I'm saying? You have to make a deal with the EU as far as how much of a split is going to come out of your cut. And Zelensky's like, hell no, I ain't giving up nothing. So Trump was like, well, then you deal with Russia on your own. Do understand, Trump closed the bank. If you want weapons from the United States, then you need to hit the Cash App. You know, they Umar Johnson these countries. You got to hit the Cash App. Nothing is free anymore. That's why, if you notice, Trump has just ignored what's going on between Russia and Ukraine. And Russia is just they're just shelling the hell out of Ukraine. Almost with like complete immunity. They shelling the hell out of them. They'll run out of people before Russia runs out of ammo. So now here he is. He wants to make the deal. Screw it. And Trump is like, sit down with the EU, because we already, me and Putin, we already, look, our deal's in stone. You don't tell us what to do. We tell you what's up. Both of us tell you what's up. I'm not fighting him over you. So now he wants to make the deal because Ann beats Nan. You understand? Ann beats Nan. Bird in the hand, worth two in the bush. You know, whatever metaphor you want to use. So now he wants to play ball. Talk to the EU, bro. I'm about to secure Greenland. We're about to go up in there. What'd you say? Greenland has a plethora of rare earth minerals beneath this ice. That's why Trump wants them so bad. Not only that, but you also need to secure your northern territories here, you know, in the Western Hemisphere. You know, just like you secure Alaska, you need to secure Greenland. And in all honesty, really, it's more so for the protection of Canada more than anything. But yeah, those minerals, yeah, they play in part of that, because they were talking about giving the people of Greenland $10,000 a year. They have an estimated population of 58,000 people. That's $580 million annually flooding into Greenland. On top, I mean, of course, they're going to get paid with their own mineral money. That's the messed up part. But on top of that, you're going to split the resources 50-50 with the United States. You can revolutionize Greenland with the money you're about to make. You're no longer going to be a podunk town. You can be the frozen wasteland of you can be the frozen tundra of where do the girls go to get pooped on? United Emirates. Where do they go? Dubai. Yeah, you can be the Dubai of the North. You can be that. You can open up a whole tourist attraction. Santa Claus, come to Santa's village. I mean, you can do all of that. You can turn Greenland into a frozen wonderland with the money you're about to make by just letting the United States come in there and drill, baby, drill. They're so short-sighted. But anyway, as far as my thoughts on the Corey Holcomb and Anton Daniels situation, I'll say it before and I'll say it again. If we're face to face and you all of a sudden you get disrespectful with me, so I get disrespectful with you because you've been taking shots, and you call yourself wanting to get in my face like you act like you think you meant to slap me or whatnot, and I say, well, the hell with it, let's step outside, and I get up to go step outside, and you don't follow me, I don't want to hear nothing else coming out of your mouth. I repeat, low IQ, ghetto, welfare, fatherless home males think that yelling, cussing, screaming, and dissing is fighting. They think that's fighting. They fight like they mamas, because that's who raised them to make them think that, you know, talking reckless and getting loud and selling wolf tickets, they think that's fighting. Real men throw knuckles. Men throw knuckles. They don't pull out guns or anything like that. They throw knuckles. Well, sometimes they do pull guns, but you know, because there is no fair fight in the street. There's no such thing as a fair fight in the street. You're not in a boxing ring. This ain't WWE, WWF, or what is it? What is the boxing, the cage stuff? This ain't that. We in the streets. You a stranger too? I owe you nothing. I don't owe you grace in a fight. But once he invited Corey outside and he didn't go, Corey, shut up. Because do understand, y'all, remember, years ago, Corey used to hammer on Stephen A. Smith. Because, you know, Corey the type that he can't let nothing go. He can't let nothing go. He is like Lennon Honor. If you piss him off, he gonna talk about you every chance he get. So apparently he had a beef with Stephen A. Smith, and for months, every Tuesday, he was always running his mouth about what he was gonna do to Stephen A. Smith. He gonna do this, he gonna do that to Stephen A. Smith. And then he messed around there, and Stephen A. Smith ran up on him at a restaurant while he was having dinner. And I'm gonna show y'all the pic. After he was saying that it was on site, he was talking mad sugar honey iced tea about what he was gonna do to Stephen A. Smith. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. Oh man, don't tell me I deleted it. I think I did. I'm sorry, y'all. I think I did. Yeah. Unfortunately, I deleted it. But at any rate, Stephen A. Smith ran up on him at a restaurant, and Corey didn't do nothing. He sat up there holding a big piece of chicken, smiling. You know, that a whole coon face. While Stephen A. Smith was standing over him. Of course, Stephen A. Smith was smiling in the photo too. I got the aesthetics of the photo wrong because it happened so long ago. All of his stand on it. I'm stand on it. I'm stand on it. It's on site. And then when he got ran up on by Stephen A. Smith, he's skinning and grinning. After he talked all that smack about him and standing on it. After that, I stopped listening to Corey. I dropped him. I dropped him like a hot potato. And I was still living in Columbus, Ohio at the time. And that's been, what, 6 years? I dropped him. Like, you're a fraud. Like, you just a mouth runner. And what's the name is right. Them same old lame old tired jokes about single moms and $40 and I mean, damn, it's the same damn conversation every freaking Tuesday. Same tired jokes he's been telling since the late 90s, early 2000s. He's still running with that same theme. Yeah, it's cool to hear the ghetto opinions of, you know, social commentary on stuff like that. But as far as anything beyond that, bro, stop. You ain't gonna bust a grape. Now you taking shots at his kid. You really sinking low, and then now you trying to accuse him of, you know, Mika being his side piece. So what if she was? Why is that your concern? Why did your wife leave you? Your daughter don't even respect you. Look at who you're having children by. You're having children by women who destroyed your son and your daughter, destroyed their mentalities. Your son couldn't even live with you anymore. You had to get rid of him. Your daughter can't even get, I mean, look at how badly you talked about your daughter. You called her all types of B's and H's and stuff and whatnot on YouTube. This is your daughter. That's some Umar stuff. He was pulling Umar stuff before Umar pulled Umar stuff. I don't care what he has to say. You're a coward. You're a coward and you're a bum. I don't care if you're rich, you're still a bum. Being a bum is not just financial, it's a mentality. You got Craig sitting up here, 40-something years old, running around with him like that little dog on the Warner Brothers. Hey, Spike, let's go chase the guy. Come on, Spike, let's do this. Let's do that. I mean, come on. I mean, Darlene is a real down chick because, I mean, he disrespects her every freaking episode. He had been doing that for years, just disrespecting her, cutting off her opinions, not giving a damn what she say. And I mean, this was like 10 years, well, as long as she's been with him. See, either she stuck or that's a real down chick. I don't mess with the ghetto. I don't mess with the ghetto. It is degenerate. It's a degenerate culture. I leave it be. I work with the working class males, the squares, the 9 to 5ers. That's my lane. Who are more so center, be they center left or center right. That's my area. All that extremist stuff, I can't get into it. All that hood ghetto crap, I can't get into it. I know I go off. I mean, I'm from Cleveland, you know. Hard sometimes the Cleveland in me comes out, but no, I can't mess with it, man. I can't mess with it. Y'all can like it all y'all want to, but I can't do it. I can't do it. Let's get into this. Get back.
Now, Lemon's claiming he was just there doing journalism, but after the so-called demonstration forced parishioners to flee the church, Lemon appeared on a far-left podcast, and he got his own shots in, just like he did in that fake news report. Take a look.
I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America, and you have a platform, and you're the biggest name. Of course, you're going to be the person that they single out, and they're going to make the headline because it plays to their base, and their base is full of racist, bigoted homophobes.
Now, keep in mind, it had nothing to do with Don Lemon being gay, even a gay black, anti-Christian. Because you walked in there with protesters and disrupted a church service, and then had the nerve to ask the dude, what did he think that Jesus would do in this moment? Let me tell you what Jesus would have done in that moment. Jesus would have pulled out the bullwhip and tried to fillet the skin off your back for that shit. How dare you walk up in God's house and disturb it on behalf of rapists, pedos, drug and human traffickers, murderers, deviants and despots, thieves. That's who you did that for, in defense of. And you think God and Jesus would thunderclap you for that? Are you serious? What type of Christian are you? And by the way, God hates fags. You think you going to heaven? But I see why your husband is divorcing you, because you're psychotic. When you was on CNN and all that stuff, he probably just turned the other cheek because, I mean, that's just the nature of the business. But now you out here by yourself and you out here doing these street interviews and people are making straight up fools of you, sitting up here talking about illegals aren't committing crimes. And it's like, dude, just the simple fact that they're illegals is a crime. You trying to gaslight people into thinking that crossing the border illegally isn't a crime. If it's not a crime, then what does ICE do? What is the punishment for illegal citizens in this country? What's the punishment? Yes, deportation, right? Because it's against the law. That's a crime. It doesn't matter if it's a misdemeanor. A crime is a crime, goddammit. If I punched you in your mouth, it would be considered a misdemeanor, simple battery. It's not a felony, it's a misdemeanor. But I would go to jail for that, right? I would have to see a judge for that, right? I would have to pay a penalty for that, right? Yeah, because a crime is a crime. You're gaslighting people with that stuff. And I'm gonna tell you right now, once they get those women, they'll go through those women's phones, and if they find out that you helped coordinate or you were part of meeting up with them, that you didn't by happenstance run into them on the corner, that y'all were in communication, yeah, meet us here, we gonna do X, Y, and Z, and you like, oh yeah, I'm definitely in on that, yeah, give me some of that, dude. That little freedom of the press, little frappe that judge gave you as far as why you didn't get an arrest warrant on you, yeah, if they gather enough evidence, they're going to get that. Trust me, they're going to get that arrest warrant on you, and you'll be facing the same charges as them because you were part of it. You didn't run up on them by accident or by happenstance. You were part of it. Oh, and they're going to get the rest of those people. They just needed to get the two people in charge and that psychotic white boy before he hurt somebody. But they're going to get the rest of y'all. That includes you too, Donnie. You can pull the race card all you want to, but your race card is declined. Do you have another form of victimization that you want to pay with? Yeah, the gay card, yeah, that's declined too. What else you got?
All right, it's about race, it's about homophobia, it's about people and judgments, about people being racist inside a church that are just trying to worship freely as they choose without being harassed this way.
Yeah, breaking news. Bill funding ICE, other Department of Homeland Security agencies passed by the House. Looks like it passed 216 to 207. 7 Democrats voted yes. 209 Republicans voted yes. Only 1 voted nay. Here, you got people, non-votes. Okay, went from 7 to 6. Went in favor of the Republicans, 218. Because remember, they were talking, well, y'all, because I didn't get a chance to cover it, but I had it in my queue. But we did the whole Nick Shirley thing. But they had a whole thing this week as far as because they were talking about budgets. They wanted to defund ICE. Let's see where we at here. Yeah, okay, 219 to 207. They won that. Those 5 votes were they mean absolutely nothing.
And the nays are 207. The bill is passed without objection. A motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
So ICE got their funding. So more ICE agents are coming.
My name is the state representative.
And this is that woman who pretended that she got assaulted by ICE agents.
Okay, yeah, I
The
just wanted
scammer who lied and said she got assaulted by ICE agents.
Hi, hello.
This is the funny part. You know, I mean, they already got big heads or whatnot, but if you notice, nothing swollen. But let's hear her story.
I'm very grateful to have this opportunity to speak in front of everyone, and thank you to my senator for representing me and the people behind me for representing me. I can never be more grateful than I am right now. I'm not used to the attention and the fame, unwanted fame that I am receiving right now. My image is out there, but it's an image for a reason. It's an image that I will carry for the rest of my life. And I am proud. I am proud to say that I've survived ICE. I'm proud to say that I stood up for what is right. And many people are saying, including my family and friends, that I will go down in history. And I will carry this on my shoulders. And I will carry it even though I am fearful. I am a bit anxious. I'm going to admit that I didn't expect this to happen, but here I am speaking in front of everyone, and there's cameras recording me. Hi, everyone who's watching me right now. Yeah, my name is Nazra. It's nice to meet you guys. It's nice to meet everyone. I'm 23 years old. I'm from Minnesota. I also grew up in Columbus, Ohio, but I also grew up here. And I was also raised here. I was raised in both cities. Both are well-known Somali communities. So I'm Somali. I'm proud to be Somali. To me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice. It's a lot. It's like it's an interesting thing. It's very hard to describe what it means to be Somali and what it means to be American, but it's like a cultural fusion. It's kind of like the bananas and rice. You know, people don't really see, like, you know, it's you know, people don't think, oh, you can eat bananas with rice, but that's what it's like to be Somali and American. It's like that combination of banana and rice, about? But you're gonna get what I mean. So what I'm trying to say is people might be confused by me being Somali, but then when they hear my voice, they say, this girl is very American. There's something American about her. So like my family says, you're so American. You're so American. There's something American about you. But then when other people see me, they're like, there's something Somali about you. You're really Somali, you know? So that's what it's like. You know, people always trying to assume what you are, but they know you're both. So they cannot separate the two. They just want to say, oh, you're this, you're that. But that's what it is. It's to be both. So, yeah. So I got kidnapped by ICE. So now we're going to get into the story of what made me stand here today. So that story is... I got kidnapped by ICE. So ICE came to my neighborhood, where my neighborhood is a very Somali neighborhood. It's a predominantly Somali neighborhood. There's many Somalis that live here, and they kidnapped me. They took me. They arrested and detained me for 2 days, and I was put in county jail. Then there was this ICE agent who called me a racial slur. So, with my skin color and me being a Black person,
now y'all Black
in America, I go through a lot. I see a lot. I've experienced a lot of things. I'm also Somali, and I'm gonna say right now that even though people see me as Somali, I'm still a Black person, and I can't separate the two. My skin is still dark. I'm still a Black person. And
oh gosh, he said it again. I'm 3 times.
Black person of Somali.
One time.
My ethnic origin is Somali, but I'm Black. I'm
5 times
under America. So I still experience racism. I still experience many things that Black Americans face.
7 times.
And the two cannot the two can exist, and many people don't really realize that, because what they see is Somalis that can't be black and they can't be, Somali, but that's not the case. So so I was called a racial slur by this ICE agent, and this ICE agent was igniting racial violence towards me. He was inciting racial violence. He was targeting these two Somali men. They were following these two Somali men who ran out the car. And when they ran out the car, what happened was I was walking towards that area that these two men were holding the door for me. And I believe these men were Somali. I'm not sure if they were some other group, but like they were like a different East African descent. But they were, what I've seen is that they were Somali. And so when they came, they were following these two men, and I was waiting for these two men to hold the door for me. And I told them, hey, can you hold the door for me? And I walked right in the middle. And when I was in the middle, ICE came. They came out of their cars. They asked me to see my ID. And while they were asking me to see the ID, they just decided it was nice to be racist and say really nasty things to me. And that man, he called me the N-word, and I'm going to say it's the book the word that's in the To Kill a Mockingbird. If you've ever read that book, it's the word that's in that book. And he called me that, and then he arrested me. They arrested me. It was multiple people. They used a lot of force to arrest me. I actually got a scab that was healing while I was in jail. But they pushed me hard. They used a lot of violence. My body still hurts. I got a concussion. It's really hard for me to speak because of that concussion. They were just using a lot of force to arrest me. And I was screaming. I was crying. I was so scared. I've never been arrested in my life.
Again, if they bust your head open, you wouldn't look normal on this side. Your face will be swole up. You can't even. Why would they? Oh my God. All right. I have a very low tolerance for BS. So I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that there. Because clearly she's lying. Anyway. We'll see if by the end of the month, if Don Lemon winds up getting arrested, along with a bunch of other co-conspirators of that whole church situation. We'll see if Tim Walz and company shows up to a congressional hearing. As far as what's going on the Epstein camp, the Clintons refused to show up to answer questions for Congress, as much as the liberals were trying to go after Trump. You know, especially Blackface Crockett, she refused to want to sign off on holding the Clintons in contempt of Congress for not answering the subpoenas, which tells you all you need to know. Like, you supposedly, it's not about the children. It's not about Epstein. It's all about Trump. It's all about Trump. And trust me, when J.D. Vance becomes president, he's going to be a pit bull. The beauty of it is that the man is very well informed to the best of his knowledge. Very well spoken. He is a younger, more polished version of Trump. And when he becomes president, oh my God, people think that the train is going to stop. They think the Trump train is going to stop. No, it's just going to get better and better with a brand new engine. All right, y'all, let's get out of here. I'll catch y'all later.
Now, gentlemen, Mr. Butler's been up north, I hear. Don't you agree with this, Mr. Butler?
I think it's hard winning a war with words, gentlemen.
What do you mean, sir?
I mean, Mr. Hamilton, there's not a cannon factory in the whole South.
What difference does that make, sir, to a gentleman?
I'm afraid it's going to make a great deal of difference to a great many gentlemen, sir.
Are you hinting, Mr. Butler, that the Yankees can lick us?
No, I'm not hinting. I'm saying very plainly that the Yankees are better equipped than we. They've got factories, shipyards, coal mines. and a fleet to bottle up our harbors and starve us to death. All we've got is cotton and slaves and arrogance. That's treachery!
A problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
All right, bye. Thanks for the fun.
Get the fuck out!